How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Jeff with iDownloadBlog. I want to talk about this new app from the Tapbots. It's called Netbot, and it is a app.net client, sort of like Tweetbot is a Twitter client. It's very, very, very similar, as you can tell from looking at this thing, very similar to Tweetbot, but it does have some subtle differences that we're going to talk about. And I just really like this. And I think this is going to be a nice catapult for app.net. A lot of attention has been brought to the platform now with the release of Netbot. And a lot of other apps continue to be released to support app.net. You see already some differences here. We're going to talk about these various fields like searching stars and profile, mute filters, all that jazz. So let's go ahead and start from the top with our timeline. And we're going to talk about some of the features of the timeline that I particularly like. Now, first of all, you're just going to notice that it looks a lot like Twitter. The timeline is very familiar, same gestures and everything that Tweetbot uses, this uses. So again, if you're a user of Tweetbot, you're going to know exactly where to pick up. Even if you're not really familiar with app.net, you're going to know exactly how to use this because it's so similar to its predecessor, Tweetbot. So let's start off by tapping the little settings button here. You have the current logged in users and you have accounts and settings. I only have one logged in user. Of course, app.net does cost per year, so keep that in mind. It's not free like Twitter, but there are some advantages with charging, like the lack of spam and things like that. Now in the settings, they look really familiar to what you've experienced before in Tweetbot. Notably though, there's no streaming access here because the app.net API does not currently allow streaming yet, but hopefully that's coming. That's something that will be added later. So just keep that in mind. You actually have to pull to refresh anytime you want to pull in new tweets. Now, to compose a new post, notice new post, not new tweet. You have 256 characters that you can actually type in here instead of only 140. So that makes a pretty big difference when you're typing out meaningful posts. You can also cross post. If you tap the new post button, you can cross post over to Twitter. It actually pulls in any Twitter logons you have stored in iOS, and you can cross post over to Twitter, which is really nice. That's not a feature that you find on Tweetbot as far as the vice versa, but you will find it on Netbot. Now, if you tap one of the tweets here in your timeline, of course, it brings up this very familiar menu where you can reply, repost, star, share, or view details, view conversation, view reports, all that. So this is, again, very similar to what you have in Tweetbot. Of course, it shows you the detailed view here. You get what client is being used, all of that. So a very similar experience. You can swipe to the right to bring up the conversation view, swipe to the left to bring up the detail view, just like you guessed it in Tweetbot. Now let's talk about something else here. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the mentions. And again, there's really not much here in the way of difference between the way mentions work with Netbot and with Tweetbot. It's very much the same. So not really much to talk about here, but I just thought I should mention it. Haha, get it, mention it. Okay, let's move on. All right, if you tap the little profile button, you get your profile. And notice this, the little header image at the top, that is something exclusive to app.net. When you set up an app.net account, you can actually add your little header image, and that shows in Netbot as well. And you can actually load that up and zoom in on that if you want to do that. But it gives you some individuality loans individuality to your profile. It's not just a generic avatar or whatever. You can really start to make it your own. And you can also, just like on Tweetbot, see when you signed up for the service, what user you are, etc. Now, stars are just like favorites on Twitter, so you guys know that. In search, this is really cool. This is a feature that I really like, and it actually makes your transition over to app.net from Twitter a lot easier. You can actually search your Twitter friends. So what this will do is it'll find which Twitter account you have set up on iOS. It'll do a search on all the people that you follow, and it'll cross-reference those to app.net profile. So if a person set up his app.net profile and used his Twitter logon, then this will allow you to search for those users. You can see I found 6 friends. I've already done this before, and I found like 19 friends, and I added them like that. So that's really cool. Now, the global search stream is exactly as it says, all the activity going on app.net at any given time. And as you will see, There's just not that much activity happening when compared to Twitter. If this was Twitter, it would just be, you wouldn't be able to even see it. It would just be a blur because there's so much activity on Twitter. This, on the other hand, is a little more subdued. But as you see, there's still activity. It's just not anywhere near Twitter's craziness, which is actually pretty refreshing when you think about it. Now, app.net is obviously it's a Twitter alternative. Twitter has been making a lot of changes lately. A lot of people don't like it. So now you have app.net, which is doesn't rely on advertisements. It actually charges you for the service. And app.net really is geared toward developers and users. Whereas Twitter used to be like that, but they've kind of lost their way lately. They're really catering toward advertisers. And you see all the various API changes and restrictions. Well, this doesn't have those. I think you're going to like this. If you haven't signed on to app.net yet, you might want to check it out. We are on app.net. Sebastian, myself, I Download Blog, all have accounts on app.net. You can find our accounts right here. And go ahead and follow us if you haven't done so. We don't have many followers yet because there's just not that many users. But if you're on app.net and you haven't followed us, make sure you do so. So let me know what you guys think about Netbot in the comment section. Let me know what you think about app.net as well. Are you signed on yet? Or are you holding out for cheaper rates? It's currently $36 a year, I believe. Are you holding out? Or what's your thoughts on the whole Twitter versus app.net thing? So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. This is Jeff with I Download Blog.